Thank you. You are watching In the Know. I am your host, Cassie.
And I am the co-host, Kim. You're watching In the Know on WJZZ, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and other social media platforms. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, and share. Sorry, that was a little backwards there. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
I'm
Thank
working
you.
on it,
No,
y'all.
you're good. Thank you. Today we are being joined by Miss Sylvia Collins. She is a sales manager at the historic Woodlawn Cemetery. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Hey,
Sylvia, first I would like to thank you for all that you do in the community. I know, with this COVID, you guys have definitely been overwhelmed. We want you to just start off by telling us a little bit about your role and, what you do over at Woodlawn. And also how has COVID, changed the situation for you guys.
Okay. Woodlawn is a part of Parklawn Corporation. Here in Michigan, we're the Parklawn group. We have 28 cemeteries in the state of Michigan, and 13 of them are right here in the Metro Detroit area.
Okay.
And what we specialize in doing is reaching out to families in our community. We're asking our families to allow us to give them a presentation that educates them on the advantages of pre-planning their burial arrangements. A lot of our families just don't know what to expect. They don't know what questions to ask. So we show them what their options are. In some cases, we help them make their selections. But ultimately, our goal is to give our families peace of mind, knowing that some of these end-of-life decisions have been made in advance.
Okay.
And not left behind for those people that they love the most to make during the most difficult times of their life when they've lost their
I got
loved
you.
one. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell me some of the advantages of, doing it on an early basis, pre-needed basis.
Well, pre-planning for families does a few things for them, right? It locks in the prices, today's costs.
Absolutely.
Just
Wow.
like everything else, inflation affects the cost of burials and funerals. In our industry, we've noticed that every 7 to 10 years, our costs almost double. And the sooner that you can pre-plan, the sooner you lock in those prices. So you've frozen those prices forever. We also offer our family just the peace of mind that knowing that these things are taken care of.
Okay.
You had mentioned to me while we talked on the phone that you were a licensed insurance agent.
Yes, I am.
And families like that security. It gives them peace of mind just knowing that they have something to help them take care of their loved ones once they leave. Now, insurance will take care of them and help them continue on living, but when they pre-plan, it takes care of what they need to take care of and to be laid to rest. So we've frozen the prices. We've given your family peace of mind, just knowing that these things are taken care of. So that's just a couple of the advantages of pre-planning.
Okay. So with pre-planning, what is going to be included in a pre-planned package? What are you
Well, that
purchasing?
varies.
Okay.
That varies. There's 4 things that you need when you come to the cemetery. Okay, you need the burial space. A lot of our families in our community call them plots.
Okay.
You need what we call the interment fees, which most families know that as the opening and closing. That's the cost to actually physically dig the burial site. You need to pay for that. You need an outer burial container.
Okay.
Most families know that as a vault. And then lastly, you would need a memorial or a headstone.
Okay.
So those 4 things are the 4 things that you need when you come to the cemetery. So those packages can be any variation of those 4 items.
Okay.
Okay. So for those families that might not be able to afford the entire package, we would start with what we call an emergency package, which would at least include a burial space and an outer burial container.
Okay.
To get them started.
Okay, so like the outer burial container, that is something that's required by law, or that's just something that you guys offer as a service?
It's required by all of our cemeteries.
Okay.
It's not a requirement by the state of Michigan, but it's required by our cemeteries. What outer burials containers do, not only does it protect the casket from the elements of the earth, but it also maintains the cemetery itself. Because after a period of time, the pressure of the earth and the weight of the heavy equipment that we use in today's burials, it crushes the casket.
Oh, wow.
So this outer burial container stops that from happening, and it makes it allows for the cemetery to maintain an even ground.
Okay.
So when,
Go ahead.
so when did this come into effect? I've never heard of this before.
All of our
Burial
cemeteries
container.
have always
never
required it. Some of the older cemeteries that may not have used outer burial containers, you might see some dipping
Oh.
every
Okay.
other burial site, and some heavy tilting of headstones. That's usually because there wasn't an outer burial container
Like your grandma's.
used, and therefore the ground has pretty much collapsed the casket, and that's where you get the dipping.
Okay. And also with the marking, you said that there was 4 things that was required. So, and you're talking about a headstone. So is that something that a person just has to buy as well, or?
No, we
Okay.
have many families who don't have memorials. One of our specialties is creating meaningful memorials for our families, and anyone's headstone or memorial should tell their life story. We believe that your memorial is more than just your birth date and your death date with a little dash in between. You know, so we have trained counselors that will help our families create a meaningful memorial for their loved ones. So for generations to come, when they come and visit, they can learn a little bit about grandma, great-grandma, auntie, or whomever they're there visiting, because their memorial tells a little bit about what they liked. It could be emblems, it could be special epitaphs. So our staff is trained to help our families create that meaningful memorial for their loved ones.
Okay. So when you're sitting down with the family, what's your main focus? I know your main focus is to help them to understand and educate them, but what are you, how are you going to get it, through their heads that this is a good thing to do, other than
Persuade them. Yeah.
how do you know what I'm saying? How do you teach them to understand that this is just the best way to do? The best thing to do. You and I, we had a conversation, and we were talking about, what certain groups do and what certain groups don't do. How are you able to, try to get that through to people that this is what should be done?
Right.
So you don't have to pass the hat. So everything is done properly in a timely fashion.
Right.
How do you, how does your team get that point across to them?
Well, when our family service counselors meet with a family.
And what is a family service counselor?
A family service counselor is my staff that sits down with the families and explains to them the benefits of pre-planning their burial arrangements. And the family service counselor also sits with those families who have the immediate need to bury a loved one. So they have a dual role.
Okay.
They're helping protect families in advance, and they're servicing families who have experienced a recent loss. In the pre-planning or the immediate loss situation, our family service counselors offer our families the pre-planning personal organizer. And what this does is help convince, persuade,
Yes.
and educate our families on the wealth of information that's going to be needed when the death occurs. Okay, so there's information like social security numbers, birth dates, place of birth, mother's maiden name, all of those things that we can barely remember when we're in our right mind, let alone when we're experiencing a devastating loss. That information doesn't come as easily to us, and we find ourselves on the phone calling Auntie Bebe and everybody trying to find out, you know, the information. It helps this organizer helps us through the most difficult time. I think writing an obituary for a loved one is probably one of the most difficult things that we'll ever have to experience. We want to remember some good things and those things that happen in Vegas that's going to stay in Vegas. That we don't, that we might not want everybody to know in the obituary. But this organizer allows our families to leave some breadcrumbs. There's some things that I might want to share with the generations to come, and this organizer allows you that opportunity to jot some things down.
Okay.
The organizer allows, for example, recipes.
Okay.
You know, you might be able to leave some recipes. There's a page in here that even asks you some things that you might want to leave for your family. Some memories that you would like to share with your family. Financial.
Okay.
It gives you an opportunity to inform your family about different things that might be in your financial portfolio. You know, the first thing we think about when someone passes is checking and saving. You know, that fast cash.
Yeah.
But our portfolios have expanded, you know, for generations. You know, we're just not still hiding money in our mattresses and things like that, right?
Yeah.
We have investments. We have 401ks. We have pensions. You know, but your family can't claim those on your behalf if they don't know that they don't exist.
Right.
So this organizer gives you an opportunity to document that. Insurance policies. You know, how many times have we sat with families at the cemetery and they say, well, I know mom had an insurance policy. She worked for ABC company, but they don't know the name of the insurance company in order to make that claim. So the insurance company is not going to come knocking on the door with a check in their hand.
Absolutely not.
So I thought that they do.
No.
Well,
I
don't think that's fair.
It actually goes to
where does the money go?
It goes to that account where lost money. It goes it goes to a lost money account.
So I can actually go online right now and see if I got some.
You can actually go online right now.
I've seen my name, but is it real?
That's
it is real.
It could be real. I mean, there's a lot of scams out there.
Yeah, you're right.
But as long as you're not spending money to get money,
then
you might.
Trying.
You're right. It might be worth trying it. But if whether or not it's financing or insurance policies, if families don't claim those within 7 years, if they don't claim those assets within 7 years, it reverts to the state of Michigan. And then your loved ones have to jump through all kinds of hoops to claim something that should have been theirs in the first place. Right. Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So the organizer is a great thing. It also gives you an opportunity to let your family know if you know what church you want to have your service at, what funeral home you do or do not want to have. You know.
Okay.
Now with that, because I know that people can neglect to do whatever they want to do. You know what I'm saying? You're dead, they don't care, you know? And so, like, if they don't do it, you can't make them, even if it's, so they can really just do what they want.
They can do whatever they want.
Shame on them. Shame on them. Okay.
But shame on them. That is true. But in the state of Michigan, you can appoint a funeral representative.
Okay.
So if you feel in any way, shape, or form, if you feel in some kind of way that your family might not follow your wishes, you can appoint someone that you trust will carry through with your
Like
specific wishes. I probably wouldn't choose somebody that was in the industry. You know,
Yeah,
I would
conflict.
choose another family member,
Oh,
a
okay.
friend, a
Okay.
pastor,
Yeah.
a trusted person that you
Oh.
would trust
So
to
how-
follow your burial wishes.
How was that done? Like through the state or?
Actually, there's a form online
Oh, really?
that you can pull up and take it, have it witnessed and notarized, and you would file it with
You would know the
file a copy with your funeral home of your choice, your cemetery of your choice, and so that everyone is aware of who your funeral representative is.
Okay, cool.
I want to say at first I was like, oh my God, I'm scared. I don't, like, we just laid to rest our baby cousin, and she was in California, and we had to have her flown back home. She had no insurance, and her mother, her aunt was in charge of everything because her mother was unable to do what she needed to do, and so she wanted the funeral on a Saturday, but she didn't have any money. So we ended up scrounging, trying to get money to help her to bury this girl on a Saturday. And I found out from the funeral home that costs more money. Is that right?
It does.
Wow.
It costs
She should be
more.
ashamed of herself.
Wow.
Wherever she at.
Well, the cost of doing business on Saturday for the cemetery is a little bit higher than it is for doing it during a normal weekday business day. So there is a slight increase in labor costs.
Like, because
To
you
do
have
it
to
on
pay the
Saturday.
person that's digging the hole. And
Exactly. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
do you think, would you recommend, I don't know if that's the right word, that people stay and have the dirt put on their loved ones and like that, instead of just leaving and they're just
Well, each family has their own preference.
Right.
Some families prefer to see the actual committal. It's a form of closure for them.
Yeah.
right
And other families just can't handle the way that we do the burials today. We use heavy equipment today. It's not like it's in the movies
I heard
anymore. We have backhoes and dump trucks that are actually at the grave site to finish the burial process. And it's a little emotional for some families, and they don't care to see that part. And then there's some families who want to make sure that their loved ones are safe and sound in our care, and they need to see that part. You brought up a point of being out of state and then having to have them shipped back home. Midwest Memorial Group, Woodlawn, and all of our 28 cemeteries, we've teamed up with Inman Travel. Inman Travel specializes in helping families transport their loved ones back to their resident state. So, for example, if they pass away while they're on vacation, they provide the service of transporting them back to the state of their residence, and it's $450.
Oh, that ain't bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
That's not
Ashley's
bad at all.
was $12,000.
Just for train.
Oh, I'm
12.
sorry. Whatever. It was a lot of money, y'all.
Let me do a quick station ID.
Yeah.
You're watching In the Know live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and other social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
She's
Coolest
had some
station in
practice.
the world.
She's had some practice.
Now, $450 for that. That's a good. That's definitely good.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And that's Inman Travel.
Okay.
The thing about Inman Travel is not
Inman
exclusive to Midwest Memorial Group or our just 28 cemeteries. They offer this service for every family.
Okay.
And like we were talking about before, a lot of different groups, they pre-plan generational. They
Yes.
they pre-plan and they buy spaces for generations to come. And a lot of families in our community don't realize that this is something that they have access to as well. So that's why we try to get out in the community, do shows like this, group presentations, and just educate the families on what is available to them and what their options are. And the personal planning organizer is a wonderful tool regardless of what cemetery or funeral home that you choose. You know, and you can call our office at Woodlawn Cemetery. Our number is 313-368-0010. And we'd be happy to make an appointment with you to give you your own personal planning organizer. It's a wonderful tool. There's thousands of people in our community, millions of people across the country that think that pre-planning is a good idea. And if it's such a good idea, you know, we want to share with our families why it's such a good idea and give them the same opportunities.
I think part of the problem, I think people think that this type of service is going to be too expensive. What would you say a average cost or range would be?
Well, that varies.
Okay.
Just like with real estate, location.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so different cemeteries have different prices. At Woodlawn Cemetery, the average burial with all 4 elements can run you anywhere from $7,500 and up.
Okay. And speaking of Woodlawn, I know that there are a whole lot of people, special people there, famous people. Tell us some of the famous people that are there at the cemetery.
Oh, we have a long list of, notables at Woodlawn Cemetery. Our receptionist, Helen Simpson, she spends a lot of time giving directions to visitors from out of the state, out of the country. They come to visit a lot of our notables. You can visit our website at woodlawncemeterydetroit.com, and it lists all the notables. It's too many to remember.
Okay.
But our notables are, they're very from the founders of Detroit, which would include Hecker. We have the Hecker Estate over there. I know you're familiar with the Whitney Building. Everyone is familiar with the Dodge and the Fords. We have Groesbeck Highway. We have Cousins from James Cousins Highway. We have, like I said, numerous engineers and the founding fathers of Detroit who are laid to rest there. Woodlawn was founded in 1895.
Okay.
And we're right about 140 acres, and we are known for having as the private estates there. And a lot of the notables that helped found Woodlawn Cemeteries are tribute and memorialized in those private estates
Now,
out there.
explain what a private estate is. I mean, I'm sure it can vary, but just, I think Diana Ross has something over there I've seen.
She does. Now, private estates can vary for one person to however many that
I want a private estate.
and what we consider a private estate is an above ground entombment, and it's like a sarcophagus just for one person or multiple people.
So if I'm being cremated, I can't do it?
You absolutely can do it.
Okay.
For cremations, we offer what they call columbariums that are specialized just for cremated remains. So it's an above ground structure that holds your cremated remains. Yep, and memorializes you with your names, your dates, any epitaphs or personalization that the family would like to use for your memorialization. And many of those private estates at Woodlawn were installed decades ago.
Okay.
Decades ago. But today, if you were to try to purchase something comparable to many of the walk-in,
Millions.
it would be millions. The walk-in private
I'm not
estates, it would be
surprised.
millions.
I'm not
So
Yeah.
when you say walk-in private estate, are these things like locked and the family has a key, or is access? And that was going to be I'll ask you the next question. I'll let you answer that one.
They are locked and the families have the keys.
Okay.
Wow.
The doors are made of bronze and the windows are stained glass.
Okay.
Saw those.
And they have, the families have individual keys for their private access. They are not open for general public to have access to.
Okay. Okay. My next question was, have you, with with all the value that went into all these things in these influential families, do you have issues with people coming disturbing those types of graves?
Actually, we don't.
Okay.
With our location right here on Woodward, just south of 8 Mile, you would think that we would have, disturbances. People have been very, very respectful.
Okay.
They're, other than the normal things that are beyond our control, like nature.
Yeah.
There's been no real episodes of anyone being disrespectful. A vase here or there might disappear.
Okay.
But there's been no defacing or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. And I know that in the back of the cemetery, maybe it's the mid section, because you told us there's much more land there. There's the large mausoleum. Tell us about the large mausoleum back there.
The large mausoleum, we call that our main mausoleum.
Okay.
Woodlawn, I believe it has 6 mausoleums. The main mausoleum is our largest. It is a beautiful work of art.
Yes, it
it's
is.
more like a
Yes.
museum than a mausoleum. It has different variations, colors of granite. It's just beautiful. You should come and see it sometime. The main mausoleum was built in 1945.
Okay.
And I learned that during the war, during that time, that families were really, really interested. It was almost an urgency to plan for bringing their loved ones from overseas and laying them to rest, and them all being together. So that mausoleum is completely sold out.
Yes.
Oh,
That
wow.
building is completely sold out. But Woodlawn, Midwest Memorial Group, and Lark Park Lawn Corporation have some expansion plans coming up for that main mausoleum. And we also are in the midst of constructing a new mausoleum.
Okay. Is that what you can see from Woodward?
That's what you can see from Woodward.
Okay.
That's what you can see from Woodward, because a lot of families in our community never thought that above ground mausoleum entombment was affordable for them. They always thought that it was for the rich and the famous,
Yes.
Right.
and you
Yes.
had to have some money to be in a mausoleum. But the community mausoleums came along and made above ground mausoleum entombment affordable for every family. So in some cases, mausoleum entombment is less expensive than an in-ground burial.
Okay. How does
Yes.
that work?
Yes. Well, how it works is pricing, again, location.
Okay.
This mausoleum that we're constructing, in the midst of constructing now, is called our Mausoleum of Love.
Okay.
This mausoleum is going to be 8 levels high.
Oh, wow.
So the higher you go, the less expensive it is, the more affordable it is for our families. And we are about, I'd have to say, 60 to 65% sold out already.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
From families who choose to pre-plan. So that mausoleum, I mean, you guys hurry and get your spot.
Yeah, right.
Because they're going fast.
Okay.
And it's not even finished construction. We barely
Really?
started construction.
Wow. Now let me ask you this: like what you said, the mausoleum is 8 stories high. How many people can get into? Because I know there are some that you know, you can put multiple people in. I talked about the multiple people thing before, but how many people can go into one vault or one area?
Right. For burials or entombment, that's what we call it when you choose to be above ground in the mausoleum. We call it entombment. Below ground is called interment.
Okay.
And with every interment or entombment, you purchase the right for one person. Okay. In some cases in our mausoleum, we have what we call companion crypts.
Okay.
Companion crypts or tandem crypts, and they can accommodate 2 people. And for us, what we offer our families is the true companion. And this is like one of the closest ways to be entombed, the closest way to be laid to rest, period, because the caskets actually touch. And you will be head to head in this tandem crypt.
Okay.
So we have those available on every level, and like I said, one of our family service counselors would be happy to give you a tour, show you what we have to offer, and give
What's
you
that number
all of the
again?
pricing.
I'm sorry. What's that number?
313
Okay.
368
Okay.
0010.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's Woodlawn Cemetery. Okay.
And speaking of tours, with Woodlawn being such a historic cemetery, do you guys like offer any types of tours, or if people come in and say, hey, I want to know where such and such is, you just give them the number and they have to go kind of, you know, search it out, or how does that work?
Well, we do not have staff to just conduct tours, but we will assist the families when they want to come out and visit a specific loved one, like maybe Aretha Franklin or Rosa Parks.
Okay.
Those we can take a few minutes, give them a short park tour before we have to get back and help our families pre-plan. But we do offer for groups to come in. Sometimes they come in on Sundays with a bus and they do a walking tour. We have families who like to come in and ride their bike or just take a walk.
Okay.
It's a very calming place, and we're always looking for candidates to join our family service team. Is a lot of people, like you said, you was like, cemetery, but it's really not what people think that it is. When you're helping families pre-plan, it's not a sobering event. It's not morbid. You know, they're really excited about getting this taken care of. And the thing about pre-planning is that you have the opportunity to choose what you want.
Yes.
And not leave your family to choose
Whatever they want.
Whatever they want, or they'll always be wondering, did I do enough?
Yeah.
Did I do too much?
Yeah.
Would they have liked this? You know, did it? So this gives you an opportunity to really, really think about what it is that you want. If you want the Cadillac, then get the Cadillac. If you don't have to, but you don't have to leave that decision for your family to argue about.
Exactly.
Debate about, disagree about. We already have enough that's going to be, put pressure on us when we lose our loved one, and this doesn't have to be one of them.
Okay.
It really
Absolutely.
doesn't.
I'm going to take a station identification here. How you're watching Kim and Cassia live on.
Here she go, y'all.
Sorry, y'all.
What she got in that
cup?
cup? What she got in that cup over there?
No, it's water. I
Silly.
promise. No. My mother was like, don't be drinking before you go on. You're watching live TV with Kim and Cassia.
In the know.
In the know. On WJZZ, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, Twitch and Twitter, and other social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Cool. I said that right, didn't I, y'all?
Yeah, you said it right. You said it right. Now, the planner that you described, okay, I know there's like things called will, that's, that people leave behind, and then I know there's like a living will. So it sounds like this is similar to like a living type will. You're telling, no, I'm sorry. That would be the like the last will, okay? So with that being said, is that considered a legal document? If they write everything down, does it have to be notarized? Does it have to be?
It's not a legal document.
Okay.
It's just a guide.
Okay.
It's just a guide. If there's something that you want to be legally binding, then you should, talk to an attorney, get everything, make a will.
Okay.
But there is a difference between a will and a living will.
Yes.
The will takes care of your assets, your house, your car, your accounts, your jewelry. Those things the will takes care of. A living will takes care of you. It speaks for you when you can't speak for yourself. For example, if you're in a coma from a car accident and you need surgery, life-saving surgery, that living will guides your loved one, and it talks about, do I want to be resuscitated or not? How many times do I want to be resuscitated? It'll ask you questions about the quality of life that you want. Some people say, I don't want to be on a feeding tube. I don't want to be on a respirator. Those types of things are spelled out specifically in your living will. And you also designate someone to be in charge to answer those questions and make those decisions based on the information that you've given them.
Okay.
Right? A living will is so extremely important. From my own personal experience, we spent hours debating on whether or not to remove from life support or not. And, not knowing what your loved one wants, and especially if you have siblings, or if your loved one has siblings, everyone might not agree on on the decision. But if you have your personal planning organizer,
absolutely,
you have instructed them exactly what it is that you want, and now you're only following instructions. You don't have to make the decisions because they made the decision for you.
Absolutely.
So it's really important. A will takes care of your assets. A lot of families in our community, they don't think that they have enough. It doesn't matter how much you have or everything is valuable to someone. What may hold value to you might not hold value to someone else.
Exactly.
But when a loved one passes away, the important thing is to leave them with a sense of you having made those decisions, so that they don't argue over the things that we think may not really matter. And it can be something as simple as
what color flowers,
what color dress. It's a lot of decisions, and a lot of times these decisions have to be made within hours after your death. And you don't have time to consult with everyone. And I don't know how many times we've sat with families who they just didn't know, and it's they haven't even started the grieving process because they have so much business to take care of. I gotta go pick out the clothes, I gotta go to the florist, I gotta make sure the food is done for the repast, I gotta write the obituary. So it's a process that really our loved ones don't mean to burden us with that. It's nothing that we do on purpose, but that's the reality of what happens. And pre-planning can eliminate a lot of that paralyzing confusion that occurs when our loved ones are left to make these decisions spur of the moment. it's amazing how many siblings don't speak to each other anymore.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. You know, we talked about insurance. The organizer, it not only lists your insurances, but it also serves as a reminder to check with those insurance companies. Check the status of those policies. You know, so many families come in and they think that they had this,
Yes.
and it really now is this.
Sometimes it
You know,
depreciates.
it
Yeah.
might depreciate. A
Might
beneficiary
depreciate.
may have changed. You know, so those type it just is a reminder to touch these things every few years, and it's a living document. It can change. You know, and the funny thing about the document is that we advise our families to put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer.
That's a good place for it.
It's a strange place for
Right.
it, but in the event of a fire, let's just say, usually the one thing standing is the refrigerator,
In a tub.
right?
Yep.
A lot of families might choose to
Wow.
put it in a safe deposit box or lock it up in a safe. But what happens is when you pass away, they don't know the combination to the safe, and they can't remember or don't have access to the location of where your safe deposit box is, and they don't have the keys.
Yeah, and they won't just let them in either if they're not on there.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
They won't.
Even if
So-
they have a death certificate.
You got to go through a process.
Yeah, you have to go
Really?
through a process to get access to all of those assets.
I wanted to ask you a question about. You said that the man and the woman, the couple, they're
Mm-hmm.
together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a cemetery and there's this tombstone here,
Mm-hmm.
where's the body at? Is it on this end or
There's a couple of things that go along with that. You know, pre-planning is about making these decisions together. You know, in the situations with married couples, it's 40 to 60% chance that the husband will die before the wife, and then the wife is left alone to make all of these decisions by herself. So one of the advantages of pre-planning is being able to sit together and make these decisions together, right? And at that time, you can decide, you know, who's going to be on the left and who's going to be on the right,
Okay.
right? But the at our cemetery, the monuments are at the head of the grave. In some cemeteries, it's at the foot of the
it's
grave.
different?
Okay.
I
Right.
thought it was standard.
Right. It depends on the cemetery. But I don't want to say the tradition, but the way that it is at Woodlawn, the husband is on the left and the wife is on the right. But that doesn't always happen. You know,
Right.
for religious reasons, for, you know, well, I like to sleep on the right side of the bed, so I want to be on the right side instead of on the left side. So it's up to the family to decide. But if it's left to the cemetery to make the decision, the husband goes on the left and the wife goes on the right.
Okay. That's
how
good
I
to know.
am now. Right now. I'm changing it up.
It can be changed up.
I have a question about, okay, so we're speaking of couples and husbands and wives. So, say for example, a husband, you know, he passes away first. If the wife is, did you say interred? That means in the ground. So, what if the family just put his ashes in there?
Okay.
I mean, is that something that's legal or?
It's legal. Like I had stated before, every interment comes with one right. So if you buy a grave, let's just say, or a plot, when you buy the plot, you're actually purchasing the interment rights, which means the right to be buried in that plot. You don't own the plot itself.
Okay.
Woodlawn owns the earth. You just own the right to be buried there. And that's the same through any cemetery. So you buy the grave doesn't mean you can come and put a house on it or do whatever you want to. Right? Right?
Yeah.
All you've purchased is the right to be buried there.
Okay.
Oh, my
And when
goodness.
the purchase price is for one person, right?
Okay.
But let's just say that you have a husband and wife. One was full body burial and the other one was cremation. We do have a process to where the cremated remains can be placed in the same burial site.
Okay.
Now, the cremated remains will be in its own separate container. You know, it's not, we don't open up the vault or the outer burial container or the casket and put anybody in there. None of that.
Yeah.
It's just placed in the same burial site.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
So this is a question that's kind of I don't know. I had some people and they had like they cremated someone and it was like some parts of them here, some parts over there. What is that about? Is that?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, because it was separate. So somebody got some of them ashes, and this person got some of those ashes, and that, and so.
Well, cremation is a trending burial procedure. I mean, the cremated remains can be buried. They can be placed in above ground entombment, or what we're called inurnment.
Okay.
For cremated remains.
Okay.
The walking dictionary here.
Thanks.
But cremated remains, unlike when a full body is buried, you're able to keep some of those remains in for your own personal memorial jewelry.
Yes.
We offer jewelry. We offer paperweights. We offer the jewelry includes necklaces, bracelets.
Oh wow.
So paperweights. So what happens with that is when the body is cremated, the ashes are returned to the family, and in some cases, the family would like to keep some as a keepsake before they lay their loved one to rest. And that was your question. What happens? You're able to use some of those cremated remains. You can deposit them into a keepsake of some kind. We have a service that we've partnered with that actually takes the cremated remains and incorporates it in glass. It's very beautiful. It's a paperweight. You can get it on a lighted pedestal. You can get your loved one's fingerprint on a glass pendant that you can hang around your neck or wear as a bracelet. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I bet it is. It sounds like it.
It's beautiful.
Where do you get the fingerprint from?
You can do it in advance if it's something that you know that you would like to have. But in the case that if it's post-mortem, you may not be able to have that option.
Yeah, right. So, like, I know people that have been cremated, but they haven't been buried. Is that like?
It is amazing how many families have cremated remains at home.
Yes.
And sometimes it's because they just don't know that they have the option of laying those cremains to rest. They can bury them. They can place them in above ground niches and memorialize their loved one just as if they had a full body casket burial.
Wow.
We have options we have so many options for cremations because what we're finding in our community is that generationally, once you take those cremated remains and you're the keeper of those remains, then something happens to you. Then who do they go to?
Yeah.
You know, and then something happens to that person, then who they go to. So these cremated remains are being passed around to the families and in some cases forgotten.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
know someone found some at the Goodwill or
Yeah.
one of those. Somebody.
Oh wow.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
options at Woodlawn, at Roseland Park, right down the road. They have a beautiful cremation garden with a water fountain in
Okay.
the middle. It's just beautiful. It's more like a park than anything. Their cremation garden, and Woodlawn, we have cremation options as well available inside the Mausoleum. Indoor niches are available. Walk-up niches, which are on the outside. We're going to be developing this open area right here at Woodward, right along Woodward. We're going to be developing that. It will be able to accommodate some cremations as well. It's the trend right now. It's an inexpensive option for some families
Okay.
who people choose cremation for a variety of reasons. A lot of times they've moved out of state, and they still have loved ones that may be out of state that may not be ready to separate yet. They're not ready to send their loved one all the way back to Michigan, and I'm staying in California.
Yeah.
Right? So I might choose cremation so you can stay with me, and then we all go back to Michigan when that time comes. So cremation is an option for a lot of families, and we recognize that at our cemeteries, and we're ready, willing, and able to accommodate families who choose the option.
Okay. And as far as the price point go, I don't know why I keep talking about price point, because I know that's very important.
Yeah.
It is. It's
very
really important to families in our community, because so many families don't think that it's affordable. They don't. It's not. Can't fit into their budget. We're already stretched. But our cemeteries offer small down payments to start your prepayment, your pre-planning package, and you can make payments up to 60 months.
Oh, wow.
You can make payments up to 60 months, and you don't have to try to eat the whole elephant at the same time. I mean, you can just eat that elephant one bite at a time and do one portion of your pre-planning at a time. For example, instead of trying to do the plot, the outer burial container, the opening and closing, and the headstone all at the same time, you can just do the plot first.
Okay.
The important thing is that you decide where in the cemetery you want to be. Right? Do you like this area? I want to be under a tree. I want full sun.
Never thought about that.
This is where I want to be. So this is my spot. This is where I want to be. Let me put a down payment on it. Make the affordable payments over up to 60 months. And at the end of my payment plan, I have purchased the interment rights for that spot.
Okay.
Now I can move on to the next thing.
That makes sense.
That's what Marlene's mom did.
Yeah,
Because
that
when she
definitely makes
passed,
sense.
all of her stuff was, it was all together.
And what a blessing
I'm telling you.
that they didn't have to.
And they were
do
so
anything.
stressed out, and it was just so hard for her. And I felt for her. I always do, but like they didn't really. Her and her sister, they didn't really have any idea but their mom did she did
Everything.
From the
That's the way
flowers
to do it.
That's the ultimate gift.
Miss Clovetta.
It is.
Thank
That's
you.
the
Yes, it
ultimate
was.
gift to leave your family. And nowadays, you can purchase vehicles and all other kinds of materialistic things that will eventually fade away and be gone,
Break down.
and have no
I
value. But this is something that's going to be here for generations to come. This is going to be the lasting legacy of your family. And another good thing about pre-planning is that you're able to keep your family together if you want to. We have families right now that are within our age range that are pre-planning. They're buying 2, 3, 4, 5 plots so their family can be together. We have families that purchased decades ago and a loved one has passed, and they brought them back and say, okay, this person is supposed to be next to their grandfather.
right.
Wow.
So it is something that you plan for. We plan for vacations.
Exactly.
We plan for weddings and graduations, And, you know, life is about planning.
Mhm.
And this is one of the things that is on our list. We never get around to
No.
it. And unfortunately, sometimes people take the advantage of pre-planning when they've experienced the death.
Exactly.
When they lose a loved one, I want the plot right next to them.
Same thing with insurance. When someone passes,
Yep.
everybody wants insurance.
Mhm.
But with the purchase of the plot, like
Mhm.
for example, you said they may purchase 5.
Mhm.
So okay, so that's for me and my 4 sisters or whatever.
Mhm.
So what if one of us go or passes away?
Mhm.
Would that 60 that 60 months it would be out the door, right? Wouldn't you have to, you know?
No.
It
No.
wouldn't. You could still make payments on it.
You can make payments on it in the event that you're purchasing multiple plots at the same time, and there's an immediate need. You would only be responsible to pay off one of
The immediate need, yeah.
the space for the
Okay.
immediate need, and the
Okay.
others
That was a
would,
good question.
would remain on the payment plan.
I got
With
you.
the exception of the companion or tandem crypts. In that case, both of them would have to be paid in it.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I got you. Okay. So I was getting around to this earlier, the COVID question.
COVID.
Yes. So,
Oh.
so during COVID, how did
Yes.
your procedures or practices, did any of that change for you?
It did. It did. And still, we're very cautious, and we take safety precautions to make sure that the families who come into Woodlawn Cemetery and any of our 28 locations are safe. We wear masks.
I
There-
see
and
your
we
mask.
sanitize.
Yes. Okay.
Well, time is not on our side right now, guys.
This was so much fun.
Yes, so we just want to thank Sylvia Collins for coming in.
Thanks, Miss.
Thank you for
We're going to
having
talk
me.
until that light goes out, but
All right.
we want to thank you for coming in. We want you to again tell us where we can find you at.
Okay.
So go ahead, Sylvia. Take the last couple minutes.
WoodlawnCemeteryDetroit.com. That's WoodlawnCemeteryDetroit.com. You can go to our website. We have a wealth of information. You can ask questions there. Also, 313-368-0010 is our phone number over at Woodlawn Cemetery. We're located at 19975 Woodward Avenue, right here in Detroit, just south of 8 Mile.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having Sylvia. You guys watch us next week on In the Know, Fridays at 6 p.m. Get in touch with Sylvia for your pre-planning needs. Thank you so much. Have